Greetings to everyone on the 84th General Membership Assembly of the National Research Council of the Philippines. Well, it is a pleasure for me to be here today to join our researchers, our scientists, and fellow practitioners in science and technology in this major conference, which has the theme Philippine Development, Foregrounding Ethical and Moral Values. Probably the topic is readily understood by most of us, and yet when we attempt to get the details, it might turn a little more complicated than what we might initially think. I have an intuitive understanding of what is ethical and moral. Maybe it is what my conscience tells me, but for purposes of opening this very important conference, and I think this is the first time that we have selected a topic on ethics and moral values, I requested some research to be done on the subject. So I do not claim that what I'm saying here was my own research, but through the assistance of some people, I got some education also on what is ethical and moral here. A few scholars have debated on the topics of ethics and morality, perhaps dating back from the early times. We have the name Hammurabi, the ancient Jewish scripture, and its divine-inspired laws and decrees to the ancient philosophers and other noted thinkers during the last few centuries or decades. A modern, non-expert concept of ethics more or less comprises a set of standards for behavior that helps people decide how they ought to act. In short, it is about making choices and providing reasons why people should or should not make those choices. It has been suggested that ethics also applies on how individuals act, even when others are not involved or looking, in contrast to law. Some even state that ethics is either you don't have it or you don't. You have it or you don't. Ethics in any case provides us rational reasons why something is moral. Our conference governing team indicates that the National Research Council wants to go back to basics, to the very object of development, which is the human being. I will not trace in detail propositions given by philosophers on the subject. I am certain our resource speakers and social scientists can give better insights and justice on the topic. However, may I share one simple broad stroke approach developed in Brown University in 2011 and which is available online. The framework for making ethical decisions is relatively a simple tool that easily synthesizes major sources for ethical thinking and classifies them into three frameworks or approaches: consequentialist, duty-based, and virtue-based frameworks. The consequentialist approach is more concerned on what kind of outcomes we ought to target with attention to the effects of our actions. And here we are concerned about achieving the best consequences or benefits with the least harm. The second framework is the duty-based approach, which seeks to identify what are our ethical obligations as citizens, as public servants, as members of the academies, as researchers, or how to perform the right actions, and what not to do or how not to neglect our responsibilities. This involves creating a system of rules or codes that would be acceptable to all, with emphasis on giving people equal dignity and respect. The last framework is the virtue-based approach, which seeks to identify what kind of people we ought to become, what our actions speak about our character, or how to develop that virtuous character and who is our standard of virtue. These three approaches or frameworks overlap, but one framework can provide answers for the other two. Often, all three result in the same conclusions about what we should do to be ethical, yet give different reasons for reaching those conclusions. Perhaps by the end of this conference, we will be able to decide whether we are more of a consequentialist or duty-based or virtue-based as a scientist or researcher or as a citizen. The other important issue here or topic is development. Okay? So the main heading in our team is Philippine development. Development is another construct we ought to define in view of the evolving discourse that resulted in several lenses. We now have the modernist, the critical, the liberation, and empowerment paradigms of development. In science and technology, being in science and technology, basic research and engineering, most of our endeavors might fall under the dominant modernization paradigm, since we usually measure development in terms of economic returns as well as use the language of Western efficiency, like raising agricultural output or building infrastructure and enhancing processes, increasing the provision of services, and adopting best practices, being innovative, and so on. Nevertheless, we also realize how development is pursued is no less important than the benefits we wish to gain. And so the question of ethics and accountability becomes imperative in our undertakings. The government, for one, has established the necessary structure and mechanisms to support ethics and accountability, recognizing that these are keys to effective governance. Our 1987 Constitution provides the basis of ethical and accountable behavior, which gives us the catchphrase, public office is a public trust. We also have a code of conduct and ethical standards for public officials and employees. It also outlines public servant virtues as commitment to public interest, professionalism, justness, and sincerity, political neutrality, public responsiveness, commitment to democracy, nationalism, and simple living. And then we also have the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act and programs that aim to eliminate or minimize bureaucratic red tape, and all this constitute the legal framework for ethics in our government. Furthermore, there are 3 oversight institutions that are in existence: the Civil Service Commission, the Office of the Ombudsman, and the official and the fiscal watchdog, which is the Commission of Audit. Okay? So ang dami nating dapat tandaan, okay? At ingatan para huwag tayong mapagsabihan o ma-penalize nitong mga oversight institutions na ito. And then the government also maintains incentives and awards programs, okay, like civil service and has an awards program, and this actually foster consciousness in ethics and accountability. So for us in the research sciences and the academe, being ethical and morally upright entails excellence and integrity in our activities and body of work, from our reference citations to our methods, to the interpretation of results, to documentation and publication, networking and collaboration, and even our extension services. And I guess many of these areas will be tackled in the different presentations that we will have today through our resource persons. I would like to mention that even though our country lags behind its Asian neighbors in terms of the number of research publications, the performance in terms of quality exceeds that of the world average. The challenge then for research councils like NRCP is to ensure that the necessary mechanisms are in place and its processes for membership, proposal funding, and program monitoring adheres to ethical standards. Surely our friends from the media who are present here also follow certain ethical principles relative to the judicious dissemination of results and the promotion of research, which entails tempering language to be within the bounds of verity and accuracy. So having this said, let us bear in mind that oppression exists in various forms and that the poor have been the very victims of development. That in the absence of alternatives, we ought to do our part by upholding our sense of morality, whatever framework we are following. Our present administration banners a grand vision for the next 20 years called Ambition Natin 2040, which was formulated under the leadership of NEDA. and it has three pillars, that of malasakit, kaunlaran, at pagbabago. I would like to congratulate the National Research Council of the Philippines for launching its new National Integrated Basic Research Agenda or NIBRA, that is more problem-oriented, responsive, and multidisciplinary, and let me encourage our researchers to submit multidisciplinary and problem-oriented proposals under the new umbrella themes and the new research agenda of NRCP.